Hey everyone, welcome back to the Sound Designer's Guide to Hi-Fi. I'm Sully. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has liked, commented, and subscribed on the channel. If you have an Instagram, please be sure to follow at SD Guide to Hi-Fi on Instagram. We feature different things on the Instagram than we do on the YouTube, such as concepts like microdynamics, macrodynamics, what really is the analog sound, and music that I think is really interesting that deserves a proper hi-fi system and your attention. If you're sort of interested in that stuff, please be sure to follow us at SD Guide to Hi-Fi. Anyways, today will be my last interview that I got to do at Axpona, which was with SPL, specifically Will Weber from SPL North America. SPL is a German company, but I talked to the North American team that had a wonderful room at Axpona this year. It's a room I always look forward to every time I go, especially for SPL, which is a brand that is very much in the professional world and 13 years ago decided to go into the hi-fi world. A brand that is straddling both worlds and trying to accomplish essentially the same thing with their incredible technology. I got to talk to Will kind of about the Voltaire technology that they have and how they straddle both the pro audio world and the hi-fi world, and how they're actually using some pro audio stuff in their hi-fi system. Sacrilegious for some, but I think it's pretty amazing what you can get out of their systems, especially for their form factor. I'm going to say a massive thank you to Will Weber and the North American team of SPL. I had a wonderful time talking to them, and I'm not being sponsored by them in any sort of way. I really just wanted to feature people at Axpona that I think are really awesome. So anyways, thank you so much, and here's my interview with Will from SPL North America. Thanks so much, and have a great day.
Look at the state of me now. All the way. Think you just go on with your day, and even with that little smile upon your face, you still have nothing to say. Say to stay here with you.
My name is Will Weber. I'm the North American Sales Manager for SPL Electronics. We're a German company and we've been in business for over 40 years, primarily in the pro field, making studio and mastering products. And about 13 years ago, we ventured into the hi-fi end of things and used a lot of the technology that we've been using for the mastering engineering side of things to our professional fidelity, our hi-fi line.
Cool, awesome. Can you kind of tell me what's the core idea behind SPL and then kind of how this specific system showcases it?
One of the things that SPL wants to do is to be able to give true sound, honest sound, and where there's no colorization whatsoever in the signal path. One of the things that we wanted to showcase here is the fact that we have the European form follows function, where it's very minimalist as far as the size, it's very minimalist as far as the controls and everything. What it does is it makes big sound out of a small box.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say I think even in the pro line too, like it's like my friend Matt, who's also a sound designer, has a Vitalizer, and he's had a few other SPL products, and it's crazy what you can do with just like even just a little channel strip kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Vitalizer is really interesting in that it's not something that you can just use for pro. I actually use it in my stack at home.
Oh, really?
Because it gives the music kind of more of a bloom. It gives you a little bit more of a punch on the lower end. It makes it a little bit more three-dimensional for the vocals, and it really widens the sound stage as well too. It's really fun to play with. Not everybody would like to have that in their system, but the first time I used it in my system, I'm like, I'm hooked. I'm not going to use anything other than the Vitalizer in my system.
Would you say you're kind of a person who likes to Like, some people just like to have hi-fi that's just like, I hook it up, it's fine, I don't have to mess with it. Are you a person that kind of likes to play with their...
No, actually, I mean, when I first started getting into hi-fi years and years ago, I had all the toys, the spatial expander and the equalizer and everything like that, and didn't really realize what I was doing with it, and then finding out that the more components you were putting into the signal path, that the worse the sound was and everything. And so I learned over years that more of a minimalist approach as far as just taking an amplifier with a preamplifier and some sort of a source generally is the way that I like going. But since I've been working for SPL for the last 3.5 years, I've been kind of exposed to other products that allows me to be able to kind of see how we were able to integrate some of the pro end of things into the hi-fi.
Right, and so what are kind of the main components in terms of what you're implementing from the pro world into your hi-fi?
So we have a proprietary system called Voltaire. Voltaire is a 120 volt rail that is very unique in that a lot of other companies will use a 30 volt rail or a 36 volt rail. And what that means is when you have a 30 volt rail, it's plus or minus 15 on the voltage. And when you have a 36 volt rail, of course, it's plus or minus 18. What the Voltaire does, it's 60 volts plus or minus. So it's a 120 volt rail system that we utilize in our hi-fi gear. This comes directly from our mastering products. Over 25 years ago, we had a number of engineers that came to us, mastering engineers that came to us and said, there's a lot of difficulty in figuring out if the signal that's coming in is too high and it's oversaturating our equipment, or if the signal itself is just oversaturating. And so we came up with the 120 volt rail, which gives us tremendous headroom, wonderful dynamics, absolutely no colorization to the music, negligible signal to noise ratio, and it just makes it so it's much more musical. Mastering engineers can figure out, okay, yeah, the signal that's coming in is kind of harsh, I need to kind of tone that down a little bit. With the hi-fi, it's the same thing. It basically, we don't try to make the amplifier give any colorization, or the system itself any colorization to the music.
Gotcha. And is there anything kind of different in the hi-fi realm, though, where, your tools are such useful tools for, really hearing what's going on in the studio?
Well, once again, I mean, this has a lot to do with 120 volt technology. We feel that with this, it just gives us such an expansion of the music, if you will, because it gives us much more of a tight bass with it. It doesn't do anything on the high end that's going to make it more harsh. People can sit and listen to their system with SPL products and not have a lot of fatigue. And that's one of the things that we kind of pride ourselves on.
Is that just because of the rail technology? Are you smoothing things off a little bit in the high end, or are you just kind of...
No, a lot of it has to do with just not only the 120 volt rail technology, but we're using high quality components as well too throughout the whole spectrum of our product. We're not we do a lot of testing on individual parts as we're able to source them. We may go through 4 or 5 different companies that we're just trying to find one piece that is able to work in conjunction with our gear and make it sound good. That's one thing that SPL does very well, is they have a really good research and development system over there. They've got guys that are passionate about it, and they're not into kind of like, oh, we need to sell more, of course we always want to sell more, but they're more into the passion of coming up with something new, something unique, something that sounds really good, and that's kind of the thing that they're kind of looking for always down the road.
Right, and especially in such a attractive form factor.
Sure, absolutely. Once again, it's the European, kind of minimalist thing with it. It's form follows function is something that a lot of European companies have done for a number of years. The size of it, we're kind of a half-size company. It doesn't take up a lot of space in a rack. It's just beautiful as well too, with the brushed aluminum faceplates that we have, and all for the 3 of the colors that we have in our hi-fi line, in the red, the black, or the silver. We have something in the industry that we call the wife acceptance factor. And the SPL has a very high wife acceptance factor.
Right. And so if the hi-fi side and the pro audio side are kind of aiming to do two things, or like do the same sort of thing, could you use your like hi-fi equipment in your, if you're like say working, or could you use your pro equipment in hi-fi? I mean,
Well, yeah,
obviously connections is different.
That's
but-
one of the, it's very interesting. When we started out making hi-fi approximately 13, 14 years ago, we found that we had a Phonitor mastering headphone amplifier. And this was kind of back in the time 2008, 2010, where headphones were really starting to explode. We found out that over 50% of those particular headphone amplifiers were being sold to the consumer marketplace. So we were like, why don't we do something that, where we address the two channel. So we actually came out with a headphone amplifier. We had our first S800 amplifier, we had a preamplifier, we had a phono stage, and the company has just kind of grown from there. But that all kind of came out of people using a pro piece at home. The same thing can be said for for some of our hi-fi pieces, our amplifiers especially. There's a number of studios out there that use SPL amplifiers for passive loudspeakers for their near-field monitors. Our crossover Mark II is being used in a number of situations as well too, because it's an analog crossover, and there's very few analog crossovers out there in the marketplace. Most of them are digital DSP, that type of thing. We have an outboard DAC as well too that is being used in studios around the world, and so there is some cross-pollination back and forth between the pro and the hi-fi side.
Gotcha. And so with that, I guess, though, is there, if you had to put it kind of in, I mean, you kind of already talked about it, but no colorization is a good way to, besides what you said, but if you had to put into like one adjective of what SPL is trying to get after in terms of when you hear back your stuff.
Honest. An honest sound. This is something that we want to make sure that the signal that comes in is actually the signal that you're listening to coming out. We just want to make sure that there is absolutely no compromise as far as what we're trying to accomplish in giving the customer the sound quality that they want.
Awesome. And one last question, and it's basically, as I said, I'm a sound designer, and so a lot of the people that are watching this or whatever are also colleagues and sound designers. And I'm just, I know many now that that own your gear, but there's not a separate this is tools made for film sound people.
Right.
It's usually music people. But how do you think you could utilize SPL in film sound? I guess I know my friend Matt has the Vitalizer for punching up sound effects and.
Well, our SMC controllers, our monitor controllers, we have a 5.1 and we also have a 7.1. So there are a number of studios that are out there that are doing Atmos that are using SMC products as well too. We have a number of companies like NBC Sports and other people that have been using our controllers for broadcasts as well too. So that kind of a product, which makes it kind of unique in a lot of ways, because not only are we addressing the two channel, but we're also addressing multi-channel as well too.
Awesome. And can you kind of tell us where we can find you?
Well, you can find us at spl.audio. We have a full website there that talks about every one of our products. We have specifications on each of the products on that page as well too. We also have a network of dealers that we're growing around the nation as well too. So you can be able to check us out in a lot of different places.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
Appreciate it.